Our final story, coming to the microphone, said his reason for loving New York is he is just so proud and so happy to have been born and to grow up here. Ladies and gentlemen, Pat Ruddick.
Thank you, Cindy. It's going to be tough topping these stories. On the morning of September 11th, I was at home, and I was getting ready to do some campaign work for the Fire Officers Union. It was to take place in the Bronx, where I was assigned. I was promoted a year earlier and was assigned to the Bronx. So, just like every other firefighter who was off duty that day, I knew I had to go into work. I got ready to go and jumped in my car and headed up to the Bronx to my firehouse. When I got to the firehouse, I was told there would be a bus waiting for us at one of the nearby firehouses. So I drove over to the other firehouse, Ladder 61, over by Co-op City. When I got there, somehow the guys commandeered a New York City bus along with the driver. I don't know how they did it, but they commandeered a New York City bus. I got on the bus and it was full of firefighters and officers. We started heading downtown. Now, if you've ever been on a bus ride with a bunch of firefighters, it's similar to like a high school trip or a Boy Scout trip. But this was somewhat eerie. It was kind of strange. We had all been to fires before, but we really didn't know what we were gonna come across when we got down here. I was the ranking officer on the bus, so I tried to assign four or five firefighters to each officer who was on the bus. We continued down. By the time we got down here, the buildings had already collapsed. We were assigned to a staging area over on West Street, about 3 blocks north of the site. Now, a staging area is an area where they send extra units awaiting to go into an incident, a large scene, a large fire or incident. So we waited there, and they weren't allowing anyone into the scene. We had lost the chief of department, the chief of operations, a lot of other chiefs. We really didn't know how many people we actually lost, but we knew it was a lot. While we were in the staging area, firefighters were coming in, guys who had survived the collapse, whether by diving into stores or under cars or underneath the footbridge out here. But anyway, when they came in, they were covered with a white powdery substance. I guess it was a combination of crushed concrete, crushed glass, asbestos, and who knows what else. But they were covered. Our black bunker gear was covered with this white substance. And as they came in, the guys knew which companies were in the building. They had a pretty good idea of a lot of the companies that were lost. One of my friends, Jimmy McNally, saw me as he came into the staging area, and he said, "We lost Kevy," meaning Kevin Donnelly, a guy we worked with in Brooklyn. Some of the guys from my firehouse on 6th Avenue came in. Guys from 24 Engine said 5 truck was lost. We lost 10 guys from our firehouse. And as guys were coming in, they were telling us of different companies that were lost. My younger brother worked in 22 Engine up on 85th Street. So one of the guys came into the staging area, and I heard him say 22 Engine was lost. I said, "Oh my God, is Mike working?" I didn't think of it. His firehouse was way up on 85th Street. I didn't know where they were getting units from to come in to fight this. I didn't think 22 Engine would be here. So I started working my way through the crowd to see if I could find him. asking a lot of guys that I knew. It's amazing, 10,000 guys on the fire department, how many guys you actually do know. It's a pretty tight-knit club. So I'm working my way through the crowd, walking through this ankle-deep white powder. I'm finding guys. Did you see Mike? Did anybody see Mike? No one had seen him. Now, Mike is 8 years younger than me, and I have a brother who's 2 years older than me. Mike and I we're always much closer. We used to work out together. We ran together. We did everything together. We were just real close. A lot of crazy things were going through my head. He didn't. A lot of guilt. Mike graduated from college and didn't want to get on the fire department. He passed the test and he really didn't want to go on. I kind of talked him into it. So the guilt was kind of killing me. A lot of crazy things, but I had hope. I was walking through the crowd trying to find him. No luck. I just kept asking guys. I called home. There was no cell service to see if my wife had heard anything or his wife had heard anything. No cell service. So finally, from about 50 feet away, I saw the back of someone who looked something like Mike. I went over to him, turned him around, and sure enough, it was him. I was so relieved. I hugged him. I gave him a big kiss on the forehead. I said, "Thank God you made it. I was so worried about you." But unlike 343 of our brothers, we were. And you know, there's a lot of guilt for. A lot of crazy feelings after losing 343 brothers, but I just felt so fortunate that I didn't have to call his wife and my parents to say that Mike wouldn't be coming home today. All right, thank you.